It was a busy morning at St. Helena Medical Center, the kind where everyone rushed through the halls, juggling emergencies and paperwork. The air smelled faintly of antiseptic and coffee. Nurses moved quickly, doctors barked orders, and patients filled the waiting rooms. But in the middle of all that chaos, something unexpected was about to happen, something that would shake the hospital's reputation and expose the true colors of a man who thought he could treat others like dirt. Nurse Amara Johnson had just finished assisting with an overnight surgery. She was exhausted but calm, moving through her rounds with her usual grace. Everyone in the hospital knew her, hard-working, patient, and always ready to lend a helping hand. She'd been working there for 3 years, earning respect from staff and patients alike. But that morning, a new surgeon had transferred from another city, Drive. Richard Langston, tall, confident, and sharp-tongued, he came with glowing credentials but a reputation for arrogance. He had a habit of belittling nurses, especially those he thought beneath him. To him, hierarchy meant everything, doctors were kings, and nurses were mere servants. As Amara walked into the ICU to check on a recovering patient, she found Drive Langston already there, flipping through charts. "Excuse me, doctor," she said politely, "the patient's blood pressure has been unstable since the last medication change. I think we should alert." Before she could finish, he cut her off with a dismissive wave. "Nurse, I don't need your opinions. Just do your job and leave the medicine to people who actually went to medical school." Amara blinked, taken aback but composed. "With respect, sir, I'm only informing you of the change. The patient's chart." He slammed the clipboard on the table. "Are you deaf? I said I don't need your input." The other nurses nearby froze. No one dared to speak. It wasn't the first time a doctor had lost his temper, but what happened next was far beyond unprofessional. When Amara reached to pick up the chart, Drive Langston suddenly slapped her, hard, across the face. The sound echoed through the ward. A collective gasp filled the room. Amara's cheek burned, her eyes wide with shock. She didn't cry, she didn't yell, she simply stood there, her dignity intact, as tears threatened to escape but didn't. "Doctor," Langston sneered, "maybe that'll teach you some respect. Next time, wait until I ask for your input." The silence was deafening. Every nurse, intern, and patient stared in disbelief. No one could believe what they'd just seen. Amara turned and walked out slowly. Her heart pounded in her chest. She didn't want to create a scene. She'd been taught to stay professional no matter what. But deep inside, she knew this was not something she could ignore. She went straight to the HR office. When she got there, the receptionist looked horrified seeing the red mark on her face. "Amara, what happened?" She took a deep breath. "Doctor Langston assaulted me in the ICU." The HR manager, Mr. Benson, quickly escorted her to a private room and took her statement. He promised that the hospital director would be informed immediately. What Drive Langston didn't know, and what would soon change everything, was that the hospital's director, Dr. Samuel Johnson, was Amara's father. He was a quiet man, known for his fairness and integrity. But he had always insisted that his daughter earn her place without special treatment. That's why very few people knew their connection. Amara wanted to prove herself, not as the director's daughter, but as a capable nurse in her own right. Later that afternoon, a special meeting was called in the director's office. Dr. Langston arrived, looking annoyed, not worried. He assumed it was just another disciplinary formality. As he entered the office, he saw Amara sitting quietly in the corner, her cheek still slightly swollen. Dr. Samuel Johnson sat at his desk, calm but with an icy expression. "Dr. Langston," he began, "I've received a report about a serious incident this morning. Do you know why you're here?" Langston shrugged. "Some overreaction, I assume." The nurse was being insubordinate. "I disciplined her verbally, and she's probably trying to twist the story." "Disciplined her verbally," the director repeated slowly. "So you deny striking her?" Langston smirked slightly. "I might have lost my temper. But she was out of line. Nurses these days think they can challenge doctors. Maybe a little correction will teach her her place." The director leaned back, his eyes narrowing. "You think hitting a nurse is a form of correction?" Langston chuckled nervously. "It wasn't that serious. Look, I'm one of the best surgeons this hospital has. Let's not make a big deal over some emotional nurse." The room went silent. Then the director stood up, his calm demeanor gone. "You think this hospital tolerates abuse?" he said, his voice rising slightly. "You assaulted an employee, in front of witnesses. Do you understand how serious that is?" Langston's arrogance began to fade, but he still didn't realize who he was talking to. Sir, I think we can handle this internally. You don't want to lose a good doctor over a misunderstanding. Doctor. Johnson looked him dead in the eye. You didn't just hit a nurse, Drive. Langston, you hit my daughter. The color drained from Langston's face. What? You heard me, Drive. Johnson said firmly. Nurse Amara Johnson is my daughter. And even if she weren't, your behavior is inexcusable. Langston's mouth opened, but no words came out. His confidence vanished, replaced by sheer panic. I believe, Drive. Johnson continued, you said she needed to learn respect. Well, perhaps it's you who needs to learn that lesson. He pressed a button on his desk phone. Security, please escort Drive. Langston out of the building. His employment is terminated effective immediately. His medical license suspension papers will be filed pending investigation. Langston tried to protest. You can't do this. My reputation. Your reputation, the director interrupted coldly. You destroyed it yourself when you decided to raise your hand against a nurse. There is no place for violence or arrogance in this hospital. Not under my leadership. Security entered, and Langston was escorted out, humiliated and furious. He shouted empty threats as he was taken away, but no one paid him any attention. The staff watched silently. Justice had been served. Word spread quickly through the hospital. Many nurses, especially those who had suffered under arrogant doctors, felt a wave of relief and pride. They had witnessed real leadership that day. Later that evening, Amara sat quietly in her father's office. Dad, I didn't want you to know this way, she said softly. I never wanted special treatment. Her father's expression softened. He came around the desk and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. You didn't get special treatment, Amara. You earned your respect long before today. What happened wasn't about privilege, it was about justice. Tears welled in her eyes. I just wanted to do my job. And you did it with dignity, he said proudly. Even after being humiliated, you didn't retaliate or lose your composure. That's the mark of true strength. He hugged her gently, something he rarely did at work. I'm proud of you, my daughter. In the following weeks, Helena Medical Center made several changes. They introduced stricter policies against workplace harassment and held workshops on mutual respect between doctors and nurses. The incident became a turning point, not just for the hospital, but for everyone who had witnessed it. As for Amara, she continued her work with the same dedication. Patients admired her kindness, and her colleagues respected her even more. She never mentioned that she was the director's daughter, she didn't need to. Her professionalism spoke for itself. Meanwhile, Langston's case went viral on social media after a staff member anonymously leaked what happened. The medical board launched a full investigation. His license was suspended, and no reputable hospital wanted to hire him afterward. One act of arrogance had destroyed everything he'd built. But for Amara, that dark day became a symbol of courage and integrity. She proved that even in the face of humiliation, dignity always wins. And the hospital learned an unforgettable lesson, that true strength doesn't come from titles, degrees, or authority. It comes from respect, humility, and doing what's right, no matter who's watching. Because in the end, kindness heals more than medicine ever could.